Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 203 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on November 17th, 2019.
We do the intros?
Traditionally.
Do you do the show notes?
Yeah, all right, let's go. All right, hi, I'm Dave, competitive shooter, match director, and all-around fun guy.
All right, Dave. For future, the "Let's Go" is the hello to all you Patriots out there. That's the "Let's Go."
I thought he just read that.
Yeah. Marty, hunter, sports shooter in rural Southern Ontario.
You?
I've been corrected. Listener feedback. I said today was the 17th. That was yesterday. Today's the 18th. I need to stop living in the past. Apologies.
Sure you do.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, which is probably why I'm stuck living in the past. Competitive shooter and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. We'd love to hear your feedback about how I got the dates wrong. Please send your hate mail to feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com, or you can't send feedback through the website right now. It's been pointed out to me that the form is broken. I will fix that when I get around to it. You can find the show on Stitcher and iTunes and possibly Spotify, but I think it's broken again. And also, when I put my IT hat on, I might fix that.
Spotify.
All right, and you can find the podcast on the social medias, either at Facebooks or at Instagrams.
We need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right. Now, what are we drinking?
It's my favorite episode. Or no, wait, my favorite segment. It's What Are We Drinking? And I guess we'll start with Dave. Dave, what are you drinking?
I am drinking some Sleeman's, Guelph's finest, and just enjoying a cold beverage. One, though. Only one. Trying to lose weight. Need to stay sharp over the winter.
Mm-hmm. Marty, what are you drinking?
I have the always disappointing water tonight.
Why?
Today was a rough day. It's a little sick today, so opted for water.
You know that alcohol will kill bacteria and things, right?
If it's hard enough, yeah.
You make a strong argument. I should probably correct this.
Should probably go get some scotch.
Saying a hot toddy would not go amiss if you're ill.
One concurs.
I'm drinking hot
Andrew,
chocolate.
So what are you drinking?
Hot chocolate and rye.
Ooh.
Because I'm fancy, but not really fancy.
I was
Not
going
like
to say,
Starbucks.
you're super fancy.
Like almost Tim Hortons caliber fancy.
Did you put some sprinkles on the top?
Hell no. I powdered hot chocolate and rye.
All right, that is acceptable.
Thank you. Let's move on to the news. It's less fun than drinking, but it's why we're drinking. We'll start with an article from the Financial Post. Canada's economic growth has come at a price. Its debt level is now the highest in the developed world. Spoiler alert, it's also the highest in the undeveloped world. What's that? You're agreeing with me?
No, so I have a disagreement with this headline.
Well, lay it on me.
So, like, if I take out a loan for, I don't get to call myself an. So, like, you can't say it's economic growth.
Pigeons.
I'm saying, so if I were to take for $1 million, I don't get to call myself a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say it's economic growth when it's just debt.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, you have to go to Europe and argue with whoever organizes the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, because they measure it from the heart outwards or something.
I mean, it's accurate. I mean, it backs up everything they've been operating for the past 4 years, and it's only going to get more for the next 4. or 2, hopefully at most, with this minority government. But who knows? From other articles I'm reading, obviously they're just going to go on a super spending spree to keep the Quebecois happy and the NDP happy. So it could be even worse than before, potentially. And it's very scary.
Yes, but I think that's government spending. I think this is talking more about like consumer debt.
Like per person, you mean?
Well, like credit per household. I mean, the numbers that they're citing in the OECD study is a little bit out of date because this goes back to like 2016, 2017, but it's like world financial numbers. So the fact that they're publishing data now from a few years ago is not unusual. So it takes so long to get all the records together and to do the analysis on. So our credit to household debt ratio is now over leveraged in Canada at over 100% as of 2 years ago. Huzzah.
Does anybody know what it was at in 2008 before the crash or recession?
Well, that's a really good question. I don't know.
I've been reading.
It's not as bad as it is now, but
yeah.
I imagine that we were still in the top couple for the developed world. If not,
everywhere I'm reading is saying we're headed for a recession if we keep down this path. So,
we're definitely.
No, I see no reason why that's wrong. I mean, you just can't keep going the way you're going and expect something to break. Not to break. It's going to come crashing down eventually. Whether it becomes down or comes crashing down is, we won't know for a bit, but I think it's coming soon, probably next year, probably second or third quarter, I would imagine. I mean, I can already see it at my work. Everything's slow. Everywhere is slow. It's not just my shop.
Everything's slow, and I'm sure you've seen recently the change in mortgage rates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just renewed last year, so.
Yeah. Even in the last couple of months, mortgage rates have changed, and the Americans aren't calling it this, but they're doing quantitative easing, and our dollar is so heavily tied to the American market that I'm sure as they continue to do more, whatever the new term for quantitative easing is, I'm sure as they release more funding into their markets to keep everything stable, that we're going to see a downturn in our economy as a result because of how closely our dollar is tied to the performance of the U.S. markets.
Mm-hmm. And then they have an election coming next year too.
Massively indebted. That's good.
Good job, everyone.
Stop spending money you don't have. This goes for like general consumers as well as the government. Just stop spending money you don't have.
You know what like the perfect description is for this is like I see people with Mercedes going down the road with like giant dings in it, and like they've obviously been in accidents that they haven't fixed. So clearly they can barely afford the car as it is, and now that it's been an accident, they can't afford to fix it either, which means you shouldn't drive the car. And it's just, I think that's pretty much this situation in a nutshell. Spending more than you should be.
Well, this is the part that is worrisome. The debt equity ratios are way up, so we're under one. So like debt equity being under a one value, like so right now it's at 0.948 as of when the data came in for 2016 from Stats Canada.
Second half, yeah.
Yeah. So like we owe more money than we have. Not by a lot, because if it was on parity, it'd be like at 1.0. But the fact that it's like 0.948, call it 0.95, for every dollar that you've spent, you don't have 5 cents of that. Like you're borrowing that money to spend.
I'm sure it's gotten worse. I mean, this is 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Not good. Not good.
Well, let's talk about spending more money that we don't have. Global news. Ontario spent at least $10 million on cannabis stores that never opened.
Mm-hmm. Is it as bad as the new... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Ontario Cannabis Retail Corporation spent $10.2 million on costs associated with opening cannabis stores that they failed to open. Apparently, and I didn't know this, we had 2 different cannabis stores in Ontario. I was only aware of the Ontario Cannabis Store, OCS. I didn't realize that was a separate entity from the Ontario Cannabis Retail Corporation, the OCRC, which is a different government entity that's bad at selling marijuana?
I feel like this
Yeah,
this
so-
isn't rocket appliances. Go ahead, Marty.
This is the essentially this is liberal government that when the Ford government came in, just said we don't need to do this and we can let private establishments do this. And so this is basically how much they spent in that like 6-month period before the conservatives took over.
Okay.
Well, but what did they accomplish though? This was to prepare to open 4 stores, one in Toronto, Guelph, Kingston, and Thunder Bay.
Yeah, so
$10
they
million to get
leased
4 stores ready to open.
they leased buildings, had to terminate leases of the buildings, and then they like fixed up the buildings. They'd done renovations, and then they had hired some staff and things like that. So basically, yeah, that was like $10 million of spending in 6 months' time.
Yeah, it's easy to do on big stores, but 4
Way to go,
different
government.
locations.
Not really.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to try, I guess. I shouldn't say easy. You'd have to
Like
you'd have
there's
to try
not a
pretty
lot
hard.
of there's not a lot of retail businesses, I'd say, that would be operational if they spent $2.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, for $2.5 million, the lights should be on, and like there should be lots of weed, and the store should be packed for 2.5. But
Well, like-
if you divvied it up
So I mean,
equally,
like, how much does it cost to build like a big box retailer? Like the buildings themselves are not the expensive part, and all that they're doing is renovating the interiors here on leased property. They're not building buildings from scratch, right? Like you got to put in some shelves to hold
there's virtually no overhead.
bushels of pod.
Yeah, it doesn't weigh a lot. They don't have to be like fancy, heavy duty shelving. You just have like a normal retail store, front desk, for the front part of the store. Like it's very, very minimal amount of stuff that needs to be invested, I feel, to like get the store running. I don't know.
And yet somehow it averages out to $2 million a store to get them operational.
Yeah.
I mean,
That is a fancy weed dispensary.
I assume that 8.9 went in.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was just say of the 10 million, I assume probably 8.9 of it went in someone's pocket, and then maybe that 1.2 actually got spent.
So apparently 8.69 million was for store fixtures.
Store what?
Fixtures.
So fixtures would be things like
Shelves. Point of sale
display
equipment.
racks and point of sale machines and lights and signs and all of those sort of hard assets that you bolt down that don't get changed.
Mm.
So they bought $9 million worth of stuff to put in the stores, not including inventory.
So I don't know if you boys have been to IKEA lately, but shelves do not cost that much money.
No, they're super simple and very cheap and inexpensive. Like I said, they don't need to be very fancy shelves. It's marijuana. It's very light. It's like 50% air.
Well, and I appreciate Michael that's listening because he's been waiting to hear me say the word bushel.
Bushel.
A bushel is a lot of marijuana, I've come to discover.
Weed shelves are
They
expensive.
could. Why did we spend $9 million on shelves when we could have just bought some bushels?
Some wooden baskets make it very, farm-esque.
Yeah, I don't know what
serve your own.
Only the government could find a way to fuck up selling marijuana.
Well, at least we're not the only ones. New Brunswick fucked it up too, and they fucked it up first.
I know, but like it's
like go talk to a drug dealer on the corner.
high
and they probably
school
tell you how to run it
stoners
better.
can make money at this, and yet
Yeah.
our government can't figure it out.
Well, because they weren't stoners in school, basically.
Weren't they though?
It's
Probably
almost like if you not in politics.
One more time, Marty.
God, I said. It said if you were a good businessman, you'd be in business, not politics.
Yes,
That's a good point. That's a
100
good
fucking
point.
percent. Yes.
Well, let's do some more not good business politicians. This is in the Toronto Sun. This is a Lauren Gunter article. The numbers show our green obsession is hurting Canada. No shit. This is more economic news. This is.
I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, if they're talking about the carbon credits, are they not in this?
It is, and
the
we talked
everything.
about this a little bit before. The have and have not provinces
Mhm.
are our three poorest provinces are worse off than the worst performing state in the U.S.
Mhm.
Even our wealthiest provinces in Ontario is not doing as well. And I don't understand why the way that this part of the article is written is very disparaging of certain mountain dwelling people in West Virginia. But I'm going to read the one sentence, or I guess it's two sentences. So Ontario's annual per capita GDP is $48,000 US. That's $1,000 better than Kentucky and just 12% above West Virginia. Coal mining, mountain people, West Virginia. And I have to wonder what Lauren Gunter has against the Mountain Williams of West Virginia.
Yeah, it's a lovely place from everything I've heard. I mean,
On the plus side, after spending billions of dollars on this, at least it's fixed now, right?
yeah, of course.
About that.
The air's so clean.
Like the weather's fixed now.
Yeah, I mean, it's cold
No.
outside, right? Didn't you see?
Need to give
We
the
got
government
snow.
more money so that the weather will be better.
We got snow though in November. That's good, right? That's a good thing, I
Okay.
think.
How much more is it going to cost before they can fix the weather?
How much do you have?
We need all
Like
of
they
it.
should, they after all these years, and they should have a number, right? Like they probably must know this is how much money it
You
I
remember,
mean-
like 2 stories ago, we talked about how the average household, like it works out that the average household is leveraged at like 101%. Like at
Right.
least that much more.
Hmm.
So if they can have everything that you've got plus some stuff that you don't, then they might have enough.
You know what it is though? It's
Mother
the
Nature's a greedy bitch.
it's the 2010s pyramid scheme.
Oh yeah, all of the green energy New Deal nonsense.
Yeah.
It's all
I mean, it's this,
all made
and then
up
there's the
nonsense for
UN
wealth
Paris, the
transfer.
Paris Accords. That's like higher up in the pyramid. It's all just a pyramid scheme. It's complete fucking bullshit. It's not going to fix a fucking thing. They're like number one, little Red Riding Hood or whatever for Greenpeace or whatever. Is riding home on a sailboat right now on some sort of catamaran, taking selfies and not in school. I hate her so much. Yeah,
if
no,
only we
it's-
had some sort of an energy-based economy in this country where we'd be able to be free of the Paris
Yes.
Climate Accord and carbon credits and transferring wealth to other countries. Well, the 5 biggest polluters in the world don't do anything to change their policies. China looking at you, India looking at
Yeah.
you.
dirty, filthy Indians. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
I mean, if the smog fits,
And the garbage-filled rivers that you can't actually see the water, you just see garbage. So, which is just
let's say,
disgusting.
like, so we're shutting down our oil industry. We're taxing taxes with the carbon tax. So if you pay for heating fuel, you're also paying the tax on your tax. Meanwhile, celebrities are telling us not to fly or travel or have less kids, and China continues to pump out so much pollution that they can't see the sky in Beijing.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're the problem.
Oh, 100%. Filthy,
If
stinking
we
Canadians.
just give the government a little bit more money, I'm sure they will make the weather better.
Well, they're give it to Quebec, and then Quebec. Wait, no, Quebec told Alberta to go fuck itself. I saw that this week as well. So that's not a thing. Never mind. No, it's a giant farce.
It kind of is.
Yeah, and the
Should we do
NDP. Yeah,
another giant farce? This one's
Go
on
on, Roland.
Armo today. This one is deeply disturbing. Arrests following activist group's occupation of Sled Dog Tour Kennel. So apparently there's something called Direct Action Everywhere, which the acronym down to DXE.
Mm-hmm.
So they went to a dog sledding business outside of Canmore, Alberta. Mad Dogs and Englishmen. And 30 protesters broke into the kennels to protest the treatment of the dogs. 50 activists from Direct Action Everywhere were there to protest the exploitation and living conditions of the sled dogs at this kennel. And the RCMP subsequently arrested like 15 of their members, including one youth. So then Direct Action Everywhere protested the local RCMP detachment until their members were released. I don't know if these people understand how dogs work. Or laws. Apparently, they are a non-violent activist group, though. So they're only interested in making property crimes, not violent crimes. I guess that's a win.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the video. Were the conditions actually bad?
Nah, they're sled dogs.
Yeah, I mean, they live in the Arctic,
Well, in this case, they live in Canmore, but
yeah,
they're kept outside in a pen with kennels because
they
dogs.
love being outside. Yeah,
It's not terrific.
Yeah, it doesn't look amazing. It doesn't look like barbaric by any means.
No, but look at every dog in the photo. They're all healthy and well cared for.
Yeah, they all look like
they're outside dogs.
Yeah, they're outdoor dogs, and that's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't seem to me that it's worthwhile to commit property crimes and upset someone's business because you don't like how they care for their animals.
Yeah, why not?
There's better ways. Yeah, there's better ways to go on about this.
Donate to the fucking kennel so they can buy whatever you think that they're missing. I mean, like you said,
wrong kind of kennel. They're like, this is a business where they keep dogs.
Mm.
This isn't like you go and adopt a dog. This is their kennel for their sled dogs.
Yeah, these are working animals, and this is the conditions that they work in. Like that's how. This is how this works. This is how this is supposed to work.
Mm-hmm. Work this way for literally hundreds of years. Well, they're probably eating better now.
I hope that all of these people receive a significant number of charges for breaking and entering, and it'd be very, very poetic justice if they could have some kind of like cruelty to animals charge for interfering with these dogs. I don't think I would be that lucky, but I would like to see them charged with like some sort of like the protesters being charged with some sort of animal abuse for upsetting these dogs.
Can you imagine like trying to get into another like activist group and then they like do a background check on you and it says like, cruelty to animals on their record? Can't come in.
If you don't like the way somebody keeps their animals, that's one thing. That doesn't entitle you to breaking into their property and disrupting their animals.
Yeah. Like I said, it would be one thing if the dogs actually looked like they were in distress, which they clearly do not, in my opinion. But that's not the case here.
Let's move along. We've got another one from the Globe and Mail. More than 1/3 of people shot to death over a decade by RCMP officers were Indigenous. And probably the most surprising part of this for me is that in 10 years, the RCMP only shot like 60 people.
60 or 6? 61. Fatally shot 61 people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should... Okay, it's worth clarifying that they fatally shot 61 people. The RCMP has shot more than 61 people between 2007 and 2017 when they looked at these figures. But of the fatal shootings with an RCMP member, it was 61. And 12 of those were Indigenous. which I am surprised the RCMP do not fatally shoot more people than that.
I mean,
It's only 6 people a year. Toronto shoots more people than that.
Do they though? I mean, what's the stats?
Does
Does anybody know?
Cool. It's just people that don't understand statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I put it in, because we understand statistics here on Canadian Patriot Podcast, and if I am not super inebriated, I can even do math.
Like 1 + 1.
So for one thing, like you got to think about the areas that are covered by RCMP are often the areas where there's a high indigenous like population. In this article, Toronto here, where is it? It says, for example, past studies on police use of force in Ontario have found that, quote, in urban areas, African Canadians are overrepresented, and in rural areas, Indigenous populations were hugely overrepresented. So they're upset that like the police statistics down in the urban areas have a large number of people who live in the urban area. And in the rural area, there's a disproportionate number of people who live in the rural area. Like, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah,
I'm very confused.
The RCMP tends to police areas that are not urban centers that don't have municipal police forces. So the RCMP is more likely to encounter people of Indigenous origins because they tend to be populated in places like reserves, where they don't have municipal police forces. They have RCMP detachments. It's almost like the RCMP are interacting with the people in the communities in which they serve.
Stop making sense.
I know. It's very upsetting when that happens.
Also, nowhere in this article do they talk about let's just look at potentially a statistical difference in amongst these communities.
Are you saying that in Indigenous communities that there's more Indigenous people committing crimes?
In terms of Indigenous communities versus non-Indigenous communities, is there a difference of members that are committing? I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like that is an important data point that should be included in this conversation. That is,
I feel like there's a lot of important data points that should be included in this that are not there. That being, definitely one of the bigger ones.
No. I think if we listen to which First Nations Assembly chief is this? Perry Belgrade? Yeah, Perry Belgrade. We're 5% of the overall population. Of course, it's surprising. 36% of the fatalities from RCMP are First Nations people. That's totally unacceptable. We call for immediate action to end the killing of our people. It's a highly disproportionate rate, no question. I think we should just listen to the Magic Indian.
I'm just going to throw something out there. I'm going to throw something out there. Maybe don't break the fucking law. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Yeah. It seems to me like the RCMP, I am shocked that the RCMP is not fatally shooting more people than 6 per year, like as an average figure.
Yeah, considering they're a federal police force across the country. And I mean, there is a lot of Canada. There is a lot of ground that I think that they cover.
Yeah. Alberta, for example, everything that's not Edmonton or Calgary is served by the RCMP.
Yeah, if you're
most of Northern Ontario, most of Manitoba, most of Saskatchewan, most of the interior and Northern BC, almost all of the 3 territories. Yeah. The RCMP covers a big portion of the country.
Yeah. Almost all of the eastern provinces.
Yeah. Somebody on YouTube is asking, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce that, bud.
Bane Ironhand.
Oh, it's multiple words. I see. Bane Ironhand. Yeah, I don't know how many people the RCMP shot over all. Fatally, it was 61 in that 10-year period. Although they do talk about in the article how the RCMP apparently does not fatally shoot a lot of the people that they shoot. They just don't. I don't think they provided a specific figure in this that they, in addition to the RCMP's bias free policing and de-escalation of force situations. I don't think they specifically say how bad they are at shooting people.
More range time, bruh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, I'm surprised it's not higher. And I don't know, these numbers seem pretty normal. I don't want to say killing people's normal, but I don't feel like they're high.
That our federal police force does not fatally shoot more people. And based on their coverage areas, I'm surprised that they don't fatally shoot more Indigenous people.
Yeah, we got less lethal force options.
Well, and that's something the article doesn't adequately address, is like how many millions of calls does the RCMP respond to on an annual basis where nobody gets hurt?
Or where they have to fucking tase a guy? How many times do they have to use their taser?
Or other less lethal means? Or how many times do they have somebody that's threatening to hurt themselves that's technically there's a level of force escalation with that. Well, yeah, but where somebody's like threatening to harm themselves and they have a lethal object like a firearm.
Oh, yeah.
Like that they class that as a deadly force encounter, even though
not
the
pointed at
person
them
with the gun is only threatening to hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like how many of these other, out of how many millions of calls the RCMP deals with over the course of a year, they shoot 6 people fatally? That's really...
Like I said, pretty sure it's quid pro quo.
What did Stalin say? Every death is tragic, and enough deaths is a statistic? Something to this effect?
Sounds about right.
Someone go look that up for me. Be an intern. But like this is... It's unfortunate that people are being shot and killed, but I imagine a lot of the people the police are shooting and killing are not the most upstanding of citizens. I don't imagine that our federal police force are riding around just shooting natives all willy-nilly.
I mean, I guess that's what this article is trying to insinuate, though.
Well, that is what they're talking about, it being an actual genocide, and I am sure that there are cases where minority communities like Indigenous Canadians are being unfairly targeted by law enforcement agencies or other government agencies, but they're also being unfairly targeted by government assistance programs. Like they're getting a bunch of extra help to begin with.
They're getting all the government.
Right. So like you're getting extra government attention on both ends of the spectrum. Stop being criminals and you're less likely to be shot for being criminal. Not that every shooting is going to be criminal, but I think out of the 67 fatal member-involved shootings in 10 years, I think 2 of them got referred to charges, the article said, and I don't think any charges actually came of either of them. And with all of the police watchdog agencies and arm's length public advocacy groups and everything that are looking at these cases, if the RCMP members were doing something... disingenuous is not the right word, but if they were like unfairly going around and shooting up Indians, somebody would be locking up RCMP members for shooting Indians, right? Like that would not escape public attention. Like that would be front page news every day for a month, that some RCMP white supremacist KKK hooded whatever is driving around rural Alberta machine gunning Indians, right? Like that would be front page news all day, every day. And it's not. 2 out of 67 cases were referred for charges and they didn't get anything from it. So you know what that tells me? That these were all like justified homicide. Not that excuses it, but if you do criminal things and you get caught by the police are likely to shoot at you. That's sort of how cops and robbers works.
I would say it's almost a testament to their training. I mean, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah, the numbers are remarkably low. I expected the RCMP would have shot a lot more people than that. Look at Toronto; they shoot way more people than that.
I mean, we knock on the Queen's Cowboys quite a bit on this show. I mean, we give them the gears as every chance we get, but in this case, it's just not. There's no call for it.
I think it's different. I don't think we spend a lot of time giving gears to like individual members of any police agency, federal or any other level. I think most of our dissatisfaction is targeted towards the politicians that are running the police services, not the frontline members in most cases. The exceptions being where they're frontline members are shitbags. Like, you know,
I forget
cops that are-
C8s on the top of vehicles and stuff like that.
cops that leave their guns and drive away or abandon them in malls or are on the take or are contributing to organized crime or are running prostitution rings or drugs or any of the other stories that we've covered on the show where police officers in a position of public authority have done something illegal that the rest of us would go to jail for life for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knock those guys. But like
Yeah.
on the whole, the 99% of frontline officers that show up and do their job and want to serve, protect, and put bad guys in jail, I think we're mostly on their side.
100%. I mean, we shoot beside them every day at the range. Taught a few of them. I think we have too.
All right, let's go on to more police stuff. This gets into the gun bans part of the show, but we're gonna talk about. There's two articles. The first one is on CTV News Winnipeg. More than 20 guns with extraordinary firepower seized from Winnipeg home, and another article for the same topic from CBC. Police seize high-powered guns, military-grade bullets capable of piercing officers' vests. LOL, what? All right, so the brief summary of this. An individual was wanted for murder and went to a funeral. Following the funeral, police conducted a traffic stop on the individual that was wanted for murder and found a loaded 50 caliber Desert Eagle semi-automatic handgun on or about his person. The loaded 50 caliber semi-automatic Desert Eagle was not registered to this 24-year-old individual. They then raided the home of the individual where they found 3 more of these Desert Eagles. This guy was gangster AF.
He's got one for each day of the week, obviously.
Who has 4 Desert Eagles? Why? I mean, good for you, but also what?
Obviously, he had all of the street cred. All of it.
No. The better question is, how do you have 4 Desert Eagles and not one of them gold tiger stripe?
Agreed. He's got the sniper rifle with the tiger stripe. Like, he got the 50 cal.
That's not, but I don't think you know what a tiger stripe looks like.
I'm thinking of Call of Duty.
Well, I do like this guy's collection of handguns. He certainly has is
that a knife
Is that a what?
on the rifle?
Is that a what? A Night Force?
It
Yeah.
looks like a Night Force.
I can't tell. It's very blurry on my screen.
Man, this
but I think
guy
so.
was balling hard.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like,
He saw what he wanted on Call of Duty and he bought it.
so there's not a complete picture of all of the handguns, but of some of the pictures that have been posted in the media, we can see that he's got 4 different Desert Eagles, all in 50 Action Express.
That's a chrome.
A pair of Smith & Wesson 500s in 500 Smith & Wesson. That's a big frickin' revolver.
I'd like to see
A
this guy
couple of
fire.
Glocks, both in 9 and 40, and some kind of 50 caliber bolt action rifle. I can't tell from the photos what it is. It's not a Barrett.
It looks like a Desert Tech.
Do you think it's a Desert Tech?
Yeah, by the hand grip, I think. It's hard to tell with all
I was
the
trying to
camo
figure
on
it
it.
out as well.
I think it's a Desert Tech.
But I mean, like that.
Nice look.
That looks like a fairly
yeah.
high-end 50 caliber repeating rifle.
Like a
That's
10 grand fucking rifle, man.
right.
without the glass.
So, 24-year-old homeboy got arrested on his attempted murder warrant. The 40-year-old man that owned all of the firearms is also being charged and is in custody because he didn't know that the gangbanger had taken one of the Desert Eagles. My assumption is that they're roommates or relatives or some sort of familial relation between these men. Because why else would you live with somebody that has all these guns and not notice when one of them takes one of your guns?
Well, you have so many, it's hard to keep track.
I mean, like, this guy was balling pretty hard, though. Like, he had some big iron. Like, there's some nice guns in this collection. And some Glocks.
I feel like he was kind of like, what do they say? Making up for something? Whatever the saying is.
Well, and that's... the making up for the thing is part of what I want to talk about is the the extraordinary firepower. I don't feel like I mean, yes, these are some large caliber firearms, but I don't feel like the police freaking out about the fact that they got 50 caliber bullets is that big of a concern. Yes, okay, 50 caliber, like 50 Action Express is a big pistol cartridge. It is a big, powerful pistol cartridge. It is probably one of the more powerful pistol cartridges. I'm not sure off the top of my head if the 500 Smith & Wesson would be more or not, but like they're both in that. They are both more powerful than the Dirty Harry 44 Magnum, right? Like they're big handguns.
I mean, you fire like 5 times and you have broken wrists. Like they're not fun to shoot.
If the RCMP are worried, or if the constabulary are worried about this, it's not the RCMP in this case. It's like the local constabulary. If they're concerned about the ability of the 50 caliber rounds to overcome their vests, sorry, bro. Literally every hunting rifle in the country can overcome your vests.
You wear piece of shit flak vests that barely stop a 9mm.
Yeah, like that's
everybody knows this.
Level 2 plates aren't gonna, or level 2 soft armor is not gonna stop any kind of rifle round or any large caliber handgun round. Like you're not stopping a 44 mag any sooner than you're stopping a 500 Action Express or a 500 Smith. Like that's not.
No, the vest does not stop them though.
Sorry guys, that's not what your vest is rated for.
No, not even a little.
And
like one of those like 700 grain projectiles in a 500 Smith & Wesson.
Oh yeah, like it'd be super fun as a gun person to shoot, but I mean, a 44 mag is over.
Those like a round like that in a revolver, that's gotta suck. That's gotta suck in the hand.
No, man, you do that once for a good time. I'm sorry, that sounds like something to do as a novelty. Like, hey, you want to shoot this? Yeah, I'll do one. It's like when Gavin brings out the elephant.
The 4.58. Yeah, my shoulder hurt like a lot after that. I was not ready for that.
Was it fun?
It was cool to do once.
Exactly.
Once.
Yeah.
I mean, this pisses me off. Even the way they staged the photo in the article, they got like the 50 cal bullets, like lined up in front of it to like be like, "Whoa,
show
look
you
at
how
this!
big
Whoa,
it's like
tips."
Yeah, stupid.
Yes, and these people were criminals, and they were committing crimes with them, and yes, that's a bad thing, but also I don't think the police are being entirely honest with their assessment of this, saying things like that this is military grade ammunition. It's very dangerous. What makes it military grade? It's a 50 caliber bullet. Like, fuck off. Learn ballistics.
Like, so you mean it's less accurate than the ammo?
Have mags in them. Shouldn't they have been axe improved?
Yeah, they don't even have like chamber flags. They don't have any of the pistols locked back. Just like I said, whoever staged this is a freaking like it's probably not even somebody from the forces. Probably just like a photographer saying, "Put them like this; it'll look better that way. Stage them this way."
This is someone's Instagram photo for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like it's fucking.
It's
ridiculous.
A nice collection. That rifle looks gorgeous.
Oh, I want that
totally
50 cal
like
very badly.
50 caliber rifles, but for the police to say things like these are not regular long guns or handguns, this is a whole nother level we're seeing. No, sorry, man. This is exactly a regular long gun and a regular handgun. They're unusual and they're kind of novelty guns because Desert Eagles, Smith & Wesson 500s.
Nobody can afford to shoot 50.
Well, they're expensive to shoot, they're expensive to own. They're kind of niche collector items, but they're not any different than any other large caliber handgun. They're not.
Yeah.
Like same thing. The 50 caliber bolt action rifle is not any different than any other large caliber bolt action rifle.
Yeah.
It's a novelty. The ballistics on it are not that great. It makes a big noise and it costs a lot of money to shoot.
Yeah, and never using competition. Yeah.
But it's a niche thing. Yeah, it's a niche novelty thing, and it's not a thing that gangbangers are going around like raiding convenience stores with 50 cal rifles or 50 cal handguns for that matter.
Yeah, no.
Like this is a straight up like this guy has seen too many Hollywood movies, and this is like his intimidation burner.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like to be fair,
my guess is that it's probably more like the media trying to like goad him into a good quote. Like,
It
would your
could be-
vest stop that? The guy's like, no.
No, you fucking
Like-
idiot.
See, you're I guess you're a lot more on the side of the media than I am, Marty, because I blame the leadership of the police for saying things like this, because I think that the brass doesn't know what they're talking about in this case.
For sure.
And maybe
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe they're
I'm just
being
saying
goaded
it could
into
go
that
either
in the
way,
media,
right?
but
'Cause-
I'm willing to chalk this one up more to incompetence than
It's a perfect storm of bullshit, really. You got the idiot cops on the one side, and you got the media, the hungry media on their other side. They can't wait to, post this stuff, right? It's the perfect story for them. But if that rifle comes up for sale in any of the police auctions, please let me know. I will be purchasing it.
Not on Gov deals, bud.
Yeah, and it is a Night Force. I looked at the CBC article. It's got a much better picture of it. That I want to do
Yeah,
things to
there
that.
you
I want to do things to that muzzle brake.
terrifying. Let's move on to Toronto, where they're also taking illegal guns off the streets.
Or are they now?
Well, sort of.
Hmm.
Some of them. Select guns. Chinese guns. It's kind of discriminatory, really. Teens charged, rifle seized after fast food delivery driver robbed in Scarborough. So,
this photo is great.
yeah, this is a good time. So you have the most ghettoized Norinco bullpup piece of shit rifle.
Like fucking blue fucking paracord for a sling or some shit. What the what's on the
some sort of
front?
like a string for a sling. What is the vertical foregrip?
I don't even know. It's like a piece of
Play-Doh?
plastic.
Silly putty? I don't know.
Oh, that's what it is. It's like a piece of metal that he's like bolted to the top that like bends around. Oh,
I think it just wraps around and then it's got like duct
like
tape around it.
Well, no, he's got like a bolt that goes through those vent holes on the top, to like mount it to the front there. That's some backyard engineering. I mean, A for effort, I suppose.
Yeah. And they've got their prohibited 30-round overcapacity magazine that the article does actually correctly point out that semi-auto centerfire rifles are restricted to 5-round magazines, so like good for somebody for actually looking up a gun law in this one.
Oh wow, impressive.
However, the gangsters in this particular case had a 27 rounds in their 30-round magazine.
It's actually not a bad idea. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you won't be able to get it on bolt closed. So
I really like the Digi Camo duct tape wrap and painted magazine though. That's the I don't know what these like ghetto hoodlums were up to in Toronto with this gun, but like there was some serious like shade tree mechanic business happening here.
Like it has to be like a 14-year-old. Like,
all right, so we're gonna paint part of this magazine and we're gonna wrap a piece of blue string on the rifle for a sling. That's
because it already
there
has a
are
carry
war-torn
handle.
African nations that wish they had this level of engineering.
I mean, the chrome, bro. The chrome, painted chrome.
Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do with it. So
You're fancy, huh?
In total, as a result of this delivery driver being robbed in Scarborough, 6 people have been arrested. 2 of them are youths. There's a 37-year-old woman and an 18-year-old man. No one is being named because the 4 youths might be identified if the 2 adults' names are released. So methinks these hoodlums are related.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was probably the one that plays Call of Duty's idea to paint it with the chrome.
Entirely possible. The rifle in this case also had an altered serial number, although they do not go into any detail to describe how or in what way it may have been altered. The kicker, though, is that they did not recover the handgun that was allegedly used in the robbery. So the whole impetus of this article was that a fast food delivery driver was robbed at gunpoint with a handgun, and they've managed to recover this, what I can only assume is unregistered. Actually, I take that back. With this Norinco, this might be a non-restricted firearm,
I was
actually.
gonna say, isn't it NR?
I said it and I realized it as soon as I said it. This might actually be a non-restricted firearm that they've illegally altered the serial number on and installed a prohibited overcapacity magazine into.
Say this. It looks like it's likely non-functional.
Or close to. You might get like one shot off, and then it'll jam.
I wonder how
That's
high.
reliability to me.
Do you suppose they set the sights all the way to 10 for maximum annihilating power?
Of course, the little selectifier has been set to maximum kill.
Another gun story, although this one is good news. This is Ottawa. This is in the CBC. Ottawa police seized 850 guns from a collector, and now they're giving them back.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this was in August. Somehow, I think we missed this. I don't remember covering this in the show.
No, it was not too long ago. They only released the fact that they seized this stuff like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't think
I'm surprised that this didn't make the news. This is a big haul. So Ottawa police rounded up 850 legally owned guns from a local collector, processed all of them, cataloged them, and are not laying any charges, and are now returning rifles, handguns, machine guns, ammunition, and various weapons, according to Ottawa police. I should like to know what else he has. Swords, muskets?
Why did they stack them so like that? Getting all the wood scratched.
Well,
I don't know if that's or if that's the photo of how they found it in his house, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like, without the context, it's hard to tell. Like, is that how they were stored? Is that how they're collecting them? Like,
looks like they just rounded them up in his basement and were about to like bring them upstairs, kind of thing.
And again, I'm disappointed with the police statement in this story. There seems to be a theme here. The spokesperson for the Ottawa police says that there is no criminal code restriction on how many guns a person can legally own, but it's common for police to find collectors have 200 to 300 guns, but 850 guns is highly unusual.
And none of your fucking business.
What makes 200 to 300 guns like a normal size collection?
I wish I had 200 to 300 guns.
Yeah, right? Like, I feel like having an 850 gun collection seems like a reasonably sized collection, and I have a new goal in life, that's breaking 4 digits worth of guns.
Agreed.
Just so that I can mess with the Ottawa police.
My goal is my first part of this goal, it's a 2-tiered goal really, is to have a house big enough to store 850 guns.
I have been into a private museum where they have more than that. You would be surprised how many guns you can pack into a tight space if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I like to display stuff, so I don't know. Depends. I mean, if you got them all neatly filed, like, you know, in like a battery, underground magazine, but
my little arsenal does not feel quite big enough. Although, when the police do come, I'm sure they will describe what I have as an arsenal.
I wish I could get in touch with this guy just so I could come see his collection.
Yeah, if you're in the Ottawa area and you know this fella, I'd like a tour.
Yeah, I'll help him put his stuff back. I'd spend a day helping him put his stuff back neatly. I'm very clean. I'm very organized that way.
Well, let's talk about another organized thing. Oh, go ahead, Marty.
This guy, law-abiding guy, has done nothing wrong, broken no law. The police went into his home, seized his property, held his property for months. And what is his recourse about this? Nothing. Nothing he can do about it.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really say, but I would really like to know what got them confiscated in the first place. Me thinks somebody told on him that doesn't know anything about, firearms. But, I mean, why else would you get them back, especially a collection that large? He obviously has all his paperwork in order if he got them all back.
Well, and I think, or at least I have an opinion that this guy is not actually a collector in like the way that the Firearms Act treats collectors, because if you're a registered museum, there's a bunch of paperwork you have to do, and the government just comes to your house and inspects your shit. I know people with private collections, and I've been in private firearms museums. They're very highly regulated, and they're regularly inspected by the CFO. Just like any other business, even though it might be in your basement in your home and it's a museum and it's not for... So that I feel like we're maybe using collector in sort of a
loose term,
general sense, not in terms of like the Firearms Act. Because if this guy was a regular museum, the CFO would just come to his house, be like, okay, open the book to page 32 and show me firearm number 4 on this page. And you go and you pull it off the rack and you show them the serial number, and they're like, all right, good, passes inspection. So I feel like maybe
we're
this.
talking about this in terms of the legal collector. We're talking about this in terms of someone who owns a collection.
Yes. Which I still find kind of suspicious that the RCMP, or I guess in this case the Ottawa Police Service, would be taking all of these things, because if he had machine guns, I'm sure they would have been registered. Otherwise, he would not have gotten them back, because we're not in an amnesty for machine guns at this point in time.
Mm.
So if he got his machine guns returned to him, they must have all been already registered and legal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could see if it was a non-restricted that had never been on the books. Well, we don't have books for those now, so if it wasn't registered when it should have been, it doesn't matter now, so give it back anyway. But for the other thing, like restricteds and like what they define as machine guns, which the Ottawa Police was very clearly delineating was he had machine guns, I feel like this guy had his paperwork in order.
Yeah, like I said, he wouldn't get it back if he didn't.
Right?
Especially like that many. I mean, it doesn't matter, even if it was only one. If your paperwork wasn't in order for your prohib stuff license, like, you're going to jail, really. I mean, you're not getting anything back. You're also going to jail. Most likely.
That's how it seems to me.
So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I would like to know what the underlying circumstances are to this, because it's probably some hot fucking bullshit where this guy got railroaded, and that's why they're not saying anything. And, you know, he got his guns back, so I'm sure he's not making a stink about it.
It's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do another one. This is an opinion piece, so I'm not...
The other tinfoil hat option that we could be overlooking here is that this is a government op that just got
blown up. We lost you, Marty. Government agency, or the government op that got what?
That got accidentally busted by local PD.
Oh, yeah. They were trying to set something up.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's like fringe.
Well, we've got much more tinfoil coming your way. This is an opinion piece in Maclean's. Guns and white supremacists don't mix.
Huh?
Well, that's okay. I'm not putting a lot of stock in this because it is an opinion piece, but I'm a little bit disappointed in Maclean's for running this sort of trash. Maclean's used to be a reputable outlet.
But yeah, that a long time ago. I've been pretty disappointed in Maclean's for several years now. To be honest.
I'm not even gonna the part that I want to start with is a particular paragraph that's like nearly in the middle of the article. The rise of white nationalism happens so quickly in Canada that governments do not have a handle on how serious threat it poses to public safety and national security. The white nationalist movement, often referred to as the populist movement, has seen far-right conservatives take increasingly more radical positions that are often racist, sexist, anti-human rights, often aligning themselves with the gun lobby. And then they go on to talk about an incident that happened in 1991.
So there's just so much to unpack to that. So first off, you're equating,
I know,
it's like,
this is just hot
garbage.
So
if you so you're automatically a white nationalist if you're a populist.
And somehow you can also be conservative and far right.
Radical.
Right. As well as they're equating that the gun lobby is racist, sexist, and anti-human right.
Like, I read this article earlier this week, and it is some of the most hot garbage I've read to date this year. Like, it is some fucking bullshit. I mean, what alt-right movement?
Would you care to elaborate on which parts are bullshit for our listeners that have not read the piece?
For the I mean, honestly, like that article, that paragraph you just read, though, like far-right movement in Canada. I mean,
what white nationalism in Canada?
Yeah, Yeah, like
We
please
barely have
elaborate.
populism with
I mean, like, are you talking about the like, Facebook group of yellow vests in Canada? Like, is that what you're fucking referring to? Like, give me a break.
well
Like, that's just some guys blowing off steam
populism.
on.
We did elect Doug Ford in Ontario.
Dougie. Yeah, but I mean, it's just this article is so all over the place with
I'm also not really clear with this whole far right conservative thing because, like, even the
no.
leader
It's
of
just
the Conservative Party is on board with gay marriage and abortions now. So social conservatism in this country is dead, and we don't really have fiscal conservatism. So
All you have to do is look at all of her articles. Like if you just click on her name and you see all the articles she's written, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
okay.
oh yeah, this is like, but again, this is an opinion piece, so I'm not gonna be like, yeah, McLean's or boo journalism because it's an opinion
Yeah, but
piece.
they ran
She's
it.
entitled to her opinion, but there's
Yeah,
a
but
lot
they're
of
hiring her.
Yeah, they ran
She
it.
works for them, and all she writes are these opinion pieces.
Yeah,
And if anything, she's the radical one here. Like, this is ridiculous. The stuff that she's accusing.
This is not like a user submitted opinion piece. This is a
no, I
McLean's
understand that it's
author.
a staff writer, but it's being put in as opinion. I understand that she's a staff writer, and this is why I'm disappointed in McLean's for hiring these types of journalists and running this type of material, because McLean's used to be a respectable
This garbage is
source.
the par for the course these days for this magazine. As far as I'm concerned, it's unreadable. It's just all lies and made up stuff. Like the alt-right movement in Canada. Like, where did you make that up? Like, please cite some sources, please, of this alt-right movement you're talking about with these radical conservatives. I don't understand how you can run this stuff in your magazine and just have no sources whatsoever. It's just purely made up. Like, did you read the article first before you put it in your magazine? I feel like you didn't.
I feel like they're doing this on purpose. So this is they
hired this person, right? Exactly this stuff.
Yeah,
right. They are intentionally trying to shift the Overton window in their favor through this type of rhetoric, because everything that we consider to be normal is the antithesis of these people's existence, because we want to, marry people of opposite genders and procreate in the normal fashion and raise children and have kids that look like us. Because we're not trying to, raise an army of cats and drink wine and work on some sort of government assistance program where we're going to Toronto health boards to rally against gun violence because of the lack of whatever it is that are all of these other things that these people are involved in. Everything that we're doing that's like a normal Canadian activity, owning guns, hunting, sport shooting, being outdoors, not living in Toronto, is the antithesis of these people's existence.
Mm-hmm. I mean, tinfoil hat here. A lot of it goes back, in my opinion, to the whole green thing. And they don't want us doing what you said, marrying the opposite sex, having kids, because we're overpopulated. We make too much carbon.
Yeah, well, that's the argument, and we've seen that in a bunch of articles that people are having fewer kids now to reduce their carbon impact. And it's like, well, that's great, but Canada contributes to like 1.5% of the entire carbon footprint on the planet. So us having fewer kids is going to help. How?
Yeah.
Please tell China to stop dumping toxic waste into the ocean. Maybe that would be a better use of our resources.
Yeah. No, yeah. When I read this article, I was disgusted. Couldn't finish it.
Well, and they go. I mean, there's a bunch of other nonsense in here. The no one hunts with semi-automatic military weapons. Sorry, the military doesn't have semi-automatic weapons. That's not how that works. Military weapons are not semi-automatic. Semi-automatic are not military weapons. Both of the this is. It does not get more mutually exclusive than that.
The MSM just uses the word military. It scares Joe Public.
Scary looking black plastic gun.
Yeah, just automatically must be super lethal and ultimate dangerous because it's purely for killing.
Yeah. allowing hate groups who condone lethal violence to arm themselves with handguns and military-style assault rifles represents a significant public safety threat? Really? Do we have a lot of hate groups that are trying to arm themselves? Is that a...
I know, again, like, proof. Who are these groups that are arming themselves and like threatening
and
the
when
public?
do they meet? And how come I have not been invited?
Yeah, agreed. I would probably be the leader.
Right? Like that's what they would make this out to, is like, you are a heteronormative white male who owns guns. Like, are you not also got like hoods and robes in your closet?
Yeah, obviously.
Is like, I don't see how gun owners with military style assault rifles represent a significant public safety threat. If we were I've said this before on the show, and it's worth repeating. If my friends and I were a problem, you'd know about it because we'd be shooting at you by now.
Yeah, there's a meme for it,
Right?
which
Like,
says exactly that. If I wanted to be a problem, I can be a fucking problem. Trust me.
Right? And that's the thing, is like, we're not doing... The white heteronormative people are not doing these things that we're being accused of, because if we were, there wouldn't be any non-white, non-heteronormative, non-gun owners left. We would have shot them all by now, and that's not what's happening.
I've got one for each of you.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess seats to Scott, Marty. We'll carry on. Let's go to Toronto.
Yeah,
this is in the Sun. This is a Sue-Ann Levy article. A different day, same hand wringing over Toronto violence. This is a carrying on article to something that I talked about with Ian last week on the show.
Mm-hmm.
The Toronto Board of Health is looking for options for a national or municipal handgun ban. This is all being championed by Councillor Christine Wong Tam in the absence of another councillor who would normally be running this. This is straight up follow up to what we talked about last week.
I mean, it's been going on all week. They're still not done with this.
No, they're not.
This
comes down to Toronto. Toronto wants to ban handguns because too many people are being shot in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. And they can't seem to wrap their stupid little brains around the fact that this whole banning handguns thing is not going to solve a thing.
Well, I mean, like, you look at some of these. Associate professor from Ryerson claims that trauma experienced by black youths who lose friends to gun violence is a trigger that results in them picking up guns and committing crimes. It's a pretty big non sequitur. Like, that's a big fucking leap.
It goes back, like we've been like banging our heads against the wall for ages, though. It's just they're already illegal. All these shootings are already illegal. Virtually none of them are with legally obtained firearms. They don't have ATTs. They don't have licenses.
John
none
Tory
of it.
And the Toronto city government is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to put into youth programs and community violence prevention and youth development and community outreach and anti-racism, and all their violent crime has gone up year over year since Tory became mayor. Shootings in Toronto has gone up year over year since Tory became mayor. Hundreds of millions of dollars is not doing anything to reduce poverty in Toronto. It's not doing anything to reduce racism or black on black crime or black on anything else crime or any other minorities benefit from it. It's just the city government spending hundreds of millions of dollars, not even of Toronto's own money, because they're getting a bunch of this through provincial and federal funding, to feel good and do something, because it's easier for them to blame the gun than it is to actually deal with the underlying problem that's causing these issues to occur. It's not people with legal registered handguns running around Toronto shooting one another up. It's gangsters that are buying black market handguns that are being smuggled in from the United States or elsewhere, or being stolen from legitimate owners during break and enters and other nefarious actions by criminals to go and do other criminal things, because we don't have a society that is actually willing to be tough on criminals.
Yep. And the revolving door policy, where they go to jail and then they're back out on bail and committing, literally, like, how many times have we seen it now? How many times have we talked about it on this show?
Oh, they're back out the same day or the next
same day,
and
and already shooting up their fucking neighborhood for
the courts
getting them
aren't
back.
collecting the bonds and the certies on the people that they're getting out.
Yeah.
There's no reprimand for any of this. People are missing trials and bails and all of the other things that go, and because we can't card anyone for fear of it being racism. The police can't do their job. Instead, we dump $100 million into youth equality programs over a 4-year period.
That has solved nothing.
$200 million into poverty reduction since 2015. Like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars just being thrown away.
When is the millions, like whoever's giving all these millions, like when do we say enough is enough? Like it's the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, but
I still contend that we take these hundreds of millions of dollars, we build a wall, we flood Toronto, we make the lake a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it would be so easy too.
I could build a pretty good wall for $200 million.
Yeah, I mean the water's right there. Like it's very convenient. Like it would be very quick. It wouldn't be hard.
I have another follow-up article. This goes back to something Ian and I talked about last week as well. This is an older article in the Financial Post. This goes back to April of 2019. An Alberta exit from Canada's pension plan would cost the rest of the country big time. Ian and I talked about this briefly last week about if Alberta were to actually separate, what that would mean to CPP. Ian touched on it briefly. I went and I did some interning. And for 2017, Alberta workers accounted for 16.5% of the total CPP Canada Pension Plan contributions, while Alberta retirees consumed only 10.8% of CPP expenditures. So that's a significant amount. A lot of this has to do with Alberta having a relatively young workforce and a relatively small number of retirees per capita.
Mm-hmm.
So were Alberta to leave, just on the 1 year balance sheet, they're looking at like a 6% loss just by Alberta leaving. Mm-hmm. Never mind the amount of money that Alberta's paid into CPP in years previous that they would have to be given back were they to separate.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do they get that money back? I mean, I would think so.
I would expect they would. I suppose it depends on how the separation were to go.
I mean, Canada could just say, go fuck yourself.
I don't know if they can, though, because of the way that CPP is negotiated with the provinces. I think that if the province were to replace the Canada Pension Plan with a provincial plan, the funds would have to be transferred from the federal plan to the province. I don't know if that would hold true were the province to then separate, but I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't know enough about the legal consequences of how the Pension Act was formulated to be for sure. You'd need to... Somebody that knows way more about accounting than me would need to figure that out. But it seems to me that Alberta will get back the money that they paid in that they haven't received back out yet. And just looking at a 1 year balance sheet for the year we have most recent figures for, which is 2017, because again, the government moves at the speed of molasses in November in Southern Ontario, which is to say very slowly because it's really fucking cold here. That's a 6% loss per annum for that one annum. So like assuming that holds true over decades, we're looking at billions of dollars that would have to be paid back out to the province.
Yeah, easily. I mean, just the past 20 years alone got to be billions for the amount of money that province alone has pumped out.
Right, you would think that.
It would be in the billions. I don't know how many billions. I'm not that good at math. I'm pretty good at math. But...
So I can tell you, I have some of the numbers. Between 2008 and 2017, Alberta contributed $28 billion to the Canadian pension plan. So, I mean, like if the 6% per annum thing holds, it's still $1 billion.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
Well, not easily. It's the way math works.
Yeah. It'll be more. But yeah.
No, it'd be 6% of 28 if it holds on a per annum basis. But like that's still a boatload of money.
Mm-hmm.
You could fund several trips to India for our prime minister.
Yeah, in mind you, a economy and country where boomers are retiring by the hundreds of thousands. I mean,
well, everywhere but Alberta. Alberta luckily has a younger workforce. They have more younger working people than they have retirees. But yeah, in general, for the rest of the country, absolutely. And this actually ties into the next thing that we have, which is I guess it's worth mentioning. We're now in the red and exit portion of the program. This is the block redneckwa, or the yeehautists.
The Wexit.
I still don't like Wexit. I
don't either,
because is a much better title.
Well, Brexit's a fucking shit show, whereas I feel like this is different, at least.
I don't know if it's that much different. Time will tell. I think we're
I feel like it's
more election cycle away from some serious action.
Yeah, but I mean that election cycle could be soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So let's go into the National Post article. We've got a commentary from Rex Murphy. This is not a standard downturn, and Albertans are not whining. And we've seen this a bunch the last month or so, basically since the election, that Alberta, the people of Alberta, are whining and complaining, and that other regions have had downturns, and the economy for the country is not good. And yes, these things are all true, but I don't think that this is a standard downturn. I think Rex is on point with this article. This whole green economy thing, where we're not building pipelines, we're not harvesting natural resources from Alberta, we're not using the oil sands, we're importing all of this foreign OPEC oil from countries that we
pay top dollar.
Shouldn't be getting we shouldn't be getting along with these people, because they throw their gays off of roofs, and they don't let women drive, and they do all of these other things that we're supposed to be against as a progressive country, but we're happy to buy oil from Saudi Arabia rather than pulling it out of the ground in Alberta.
Yeah. Probably some of the most unethical oil we could possibly be purchasing.
Well, and the countries that are importing OPEC oil are not paying carbon taxes on it, whereas if we were to produce Alberta oil, we would be paying a carbon tax on that, because there's an exemption carved out for Saudi oil. I would imagine it applies to the other OPEC oil producers.
I mean, the thing is like, Alberta is losing jobs in the hundreds of thousands. You know, the other provinces are, you know, a couple thousand here and there, from all the stuff I've been seeing lately in the news with CN and some other. I think Chrysler closed down a plant, something like that. You know, but 600 jobs here, a few thousand there. But Alberta, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people are out of work right now because of this. Green
and
initiative.
Alberta is still one of the better employed provinces on the whole. 66% of the population of Alberta is employed, which is still better than our national average. It's still better than almost every other province.
Better than the East Coast.
Certainly. But it's still on a downturn, because a lot of those people are underemployed. A lot of those people are not making the money that they would have been making 10 years ago working in the oil patch.
Mm-hmm. Like they're going from, you know, making six figures to, you know, probably sub 50,000.
Yeah, well, you've gone from primary resource jobs working in the patch to working in the tertiary economy at the local liquor store selling 6 packs of beer, because that's the work that's available right now.
Yeah, doing that full time.
Right, and that's why. I think the people in Alberta are rightfully pissed about this, because we're, as a country, like at the national level, we're intentionally hamstringing the most prosperous economies in the country to look green, to make it more like, so we're doing these things we're not building pipelines because we're worried about oil spills or whatever other nonsense, and we don't want to have carbon whatever. I still don't understand how this whole carbon tax credit scheme thing works, but apparently not pulling oil out of the ground in Alberta and importing oil from Saudi Arabia is somehow more environmentally friendly. I guess shipping it across the ocean somehow makes it better.
I don't understand the double standard. It makes no sense. And
no,
why?
not at all. And I think the people of Alberta are rightfully pissed about this.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I just don't understand why the peoples of Toronto and, you know, the green people, I don't understand how they're against Alberta's, you know, ethical oil, as ethical as it's ever going to get in any country anywhere, and, you know, or don't say anything against Saudi oil. Why are they not rioting in the streets against us accepting this dirty oil?
Well, I I have a suspicion that actually it's because of a lot of the stuff that Pierre Trudeau set up back in the day. Before getting into politics, Trudeau the senior owned an oil company, the name of which escapes me off the top of my head, but they're responsible for a bunch of refineries out east.
Yeah, I read
when
this.
he went into politics, I think it might have been before he was the prime minister. I'm 100% by the time that he was prime minister. The oil company that the Trudeau family owned was put into a blind trust that is still paying dividends out to the Trudeau family now. So it would behoove Justin to continue to operate his company or his family's company, even if it's being operated at arm's length through a blind trust. I'm sure it still behooves them to make money off of this arrangement that's been in place for 50 years.
How else is he going to fuel his 2 jets, bruh?
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Like this is playing to the east, and there are limited jobs on the maritime provinces.
It's got Trudeau family written all over it from top to bottom.
It does. I mean, I wish I could remember the name of the oil company that they put into a blind trust in the 60s.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't know if it's ever named. But
it is. I'm sure later I can go and look it up and put it in next week's show. But let's talk about another thing with Alberta. This is on Global News. Pick a lane. Kenny calls out Quebec's use of equalization payment after Blanchette meeting with Trudeau. So Yves Francois Blanchette is the premier of Quebec. Kenny is the premier of Alberta. We talked about last week again that Quebec is posting a $4 billion surplus this year after having received $13 billion in equalization payments from predominantly Alberta, from the other provinces. And of course, Blanchette's not going to be giving any advice to Alberta about what to do or doing anything to ease their equalization payments. And that if there's currently a motion in the National Assembly, which is the Quebec provincial legislature, that Quebec will have the ability to veto any proposed changes to the equalization formula. So Albertans are hurting for work. They can't get the oil out of the ground, and what they can get out of the ground, they're having a hard time getting to market because of the lack of pipelines. But Quebec is happy to still ask for equalization payments. So happy, in fact, that they're going to change the laws so that they're the ones that get to say whether or not any changes to equalization are even allowed to take place. I
mean, it's wrong on so many levels. I mean, if you saw the Block's little spiel to the press of that basically initiated this response from Kenny, like, he was more than blunt. He was fucking rude, to put it lightly, in my opinion. He's lucky, like,
This is the whole, like, I wish I had the soundbite for this. This is the whole thing where he's like, well, who am I to give advice?
Yeah, and I mean, he's almost sparking civil war, in my opinion, with the words he's throwing around. I mean, it's rage-inducing. And I'm not even from Alberta. It's ridiculous.
It is. I mean, I wish Kenny had more of a backbone, because the rhetoric is not bad. So like part of the Kenny quote here. And yet we're going through an economic crisis. All we ask is a little bit of fairness. We're not asking for a special deal. We're asking for a fair deal.
Yeah.
Either you can say, as Quebec, you're no longer going to take money, or you're no longer going to take energy and equalization resource from Western Canada's oil and gas industry, and then you become even more independent. Some other stuff, or you could do what we as Canadians do, come together and support each other, especially in times of adversity. Like, I really like some of Kenny's rhetoric. I just wish that he wasn't a wimp.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything he said, obviously, but I mean, I wish he would take the gloves off. I think it's time to take the fucking gloves off. And
well, really, he's not gonna, though.
And that's my problem. I think that's everybody's problem with him. Everybody wants him to smack Quebec in the mouth, and he's not really doing it.
He's not going to do it.
Yeah, no, and they need a fucking smack in the mouth.
Again, I think we give it another election cycle and see what happens. Kenny is probably the best thing that Alberta could have got of what was available for them, but I still don't think it's a good
Like they're almost
I don't think
primed.
he's a good premier.
No, they're almost primed for a PPC leader. Like they need something harder right
Well,
to fight. I don't know, or just
I don't know what that's going to be, but I think we're going to find out in the next election. I really like the rhetoric. I just wish Kenny had the balls to follow through on it.
Yeah, start. I don't know, sanctions or something.
Well, just stop
some sort of
sending equalization payments. Just
or
figure out how to do some figure out some accounting trick to make
exactly
it stop sending them equalization payments.
Yeah, tax it or something.
Well,
call it the Quebec tax.
Reduce the taxes that they're collecting, because there's no provincial income tax in Alberta, right? There's just the federal income tax. So I don't know the details of how Alberta funds their government. I imagine it's through taxing businesses. Just reduce the tax rates. Right?
Yeah.
Like just stop collecting taxes, and then you can't send equalization payments.
You can't get blood from a stone. If we don't have any money to give you because we didn't tax it, then you don't get anything.
Yeah, well, like there's got to be some accounting trick, and I mean there must be people smarter than me in Alberta trying to figure out how to do this. But there's got to be some accounting trick that you can pull to stop giving Quebec money, because equalization payments only come from if the province is making money, right? Like Ontario is a have province again, so now Ontario has to give money to other provinces. So there's some like accounting trick where you must be able to switch that so that you're in that like the
negative,
the have not category again. Right. So just like reduce the corporate income tax in Alberta, or whatever it is that however they're generating this revenue that they have. What they've given like $600 billion in transfer payments since this system was implemented in the 60s.
Yeah, it's higher. I think it's closer to 700. I think like 683. Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking of 683 or something like that.
Okay, so 700 billion in 60 years.
Yeah. 23 billion in the past 5 years alone.
Right. So however they've arrived at, like, there must be some accounting trick where you can make it so that you no longer have money on paper
to give out,
to be able to give away to other provinces.
And if anything, I feel like it would also kind of spur the economy. If you're taxing businesses less, you'll get more investment back into the economy.
Well, that's purely hypothetical on my part. I don't know how the Alberta economy really functions. I know that you don't have an individual provincial income tax in Alberta, but the government of Alberta still they still build hospitals and roads and shit. So they must have some way of making money.
They'll have healthcare and all the rest. So
sales taxes, income taxes on businesses. I don't like.
Oh, look! Somebody on YouTube posted, we have provincial taxes that are collected by the feds on our behalf. We have to collect our own taxes first, then tell Quebec to stick it.
I feel like there's some more details that we should have with that, but yeah, okay. So I
don't know. Maybe they have HST, but like a much slower one.
I don't know, and I don't think there's an HST. I think there's just a GST, but I don't know. The Alberta government makes money taxing something, because that's the only way governments get income is through taking it from other people. So there must be some system where we can reduce how much they're collecting so they have less to have to equalize out.
For sure.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody out there that's smarter than me must have a way to solve this problem.
Yeah. It's like, here is $1. You get 1 loonie, Quebec. Have fun. Don't spend it all in one place.
Let's move on to rapid fire feedback. First one, we've got a shout out for Dean. Dean is our new $5 an episode Patreon. Dean, your t-shirt will be shipping tomorrow. Okay. I packed the order up this evening. I want to thank you for your Patreonage.
Thanks, Dean.
Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you giving us $5. I hope you enjoy your t-shirt. I have sent Gavin the photo that you emailed me to get cartoonified. Gavin is currently away on business. As soon as he's back, I'm sure he will get right on that, just as soon as he sobers up.
From that Alberta whiskey.
Yeah. And we've also got an email from Mike this evening. Mike's email is, "What are you drinking?" Hi, guys. Congrats on breaking 200 episodes. Just enjoyed number 202. Appreciate the great podcast, and I love getting a YouTube notification that you're live, but it usually comes up just as I'm about to get the kids cleaned up for bed, so I missed the live chat. I have some beverage suggestions for Ian, as he's been sober for 2 episodes at least, and anyone else who's not drinking, as I feel bad for him when he's drinking water or tea, as good as those 2 things are. I've been sober for 12 years now, after several years as a professional drinker. When I quit drinking, the non-alcoholic beer game was pretty weak, offering only O'Doul's. It doesn't a pinch. And Molson Excel, and as an ex-professional drinker, I couldn't bring myself to drink that swill. These days, the non-alcoholic beer market is solid offerings from large brewers and craft brewers alike. Pick up a 4 or 6-pack of Partake, Village, Mill Street, or Sober Carpenter, currently one of my faves, and enjoy a solid beer so you can drive or work the next day. It's been a while, but I recall that this might be akin to offering decaf to a real coffee drinker, but I assure you the quality these days is pretty impressive. Keep up the great work, Mike in Agassiz, British Columbia.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I don't think I've ever met a sober carpenter, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Maybe he's even got a Hogarten in there and a Beck's. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So Mike sent us a picture. So there's a sober carpenter's got a white IPA. Partake's got a couple. There's a blonde, a pale, an IPA, a stout. There's a Beck's. There's a Hogarten 0.0, which I didn't know Hogarten made a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, same. That's impressive.
And something I can't read, that's some kind of lager that's very, very shiny. Mill Street, maybe? Oh, maybe that's the Mill Street.
Yeah, that might be the Mill Street, yeah. Cool.
So, thank you for the suggestions, Mike. Ian's occupation does occasionally prevent him from imbibing before duty. We all have that where sometimes we can't do the things that we want to do, like drink. I appreciate the feedback. I might give some of those a shot. The Partake stuff particularly, and actually Sober Carpenter for that matter, both look appealing to me, just going by the artwork on the cans.
I wouldn't mind giving the Hogarten and the Beck's a try. I mean, I like both of those beers. All right.
Oh, feedback from the Albertan on YouTube. Thank you. He's clarified the income tax scheme in Alberta. We pay provincial personal income taxes of 10 to 15% in 5% brackets collected by the feds and redistributed back to Alberta. Okay. So it's part of your federal income tax, and then it's a transfer payment back to Alberta from the Fed. So that seems like a pretty straightforward thing. Just administer it at the provincial level and drop it to like 5%, and then stop doing transfer payments.
Voila.
Again, this is not legal advice or accounting advice. Consult with an actual professional, not the guy that's been drinking hot chocolate that's got rye in it.
And the beer drinker on the other side.
Yeah. We are not professionals, although we have stayed at a Holiday Inn.
No, it's a Motel 6.
Oh, well. Good enough. Let's do the outro. Dave, do you have the social media personality that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, just follow me on the IGs at Diesel6223 and give me a follow. And I'll see you guys out on the range.
All right. If you've listened this long, I have to thank you, and I want to suggest that you go to ragnaroktactical.ca, use the discount code Patriot at checkout, save yourself some money on some first aid supplies or some body armor or some firearms accessories, any of those fine products that we carry.
Barrels.
Yeah, we do a little apparel. We do a lot of shoes. Shoes are easy. Apparel's a little harder. If you want to like get some 511 or some True Spec or something in, we're happy to order that, although I do not have the warehouse capacity to have 8,000 kinds of 511 pants in stock because they come in like 15 different colors and all of the sizes. So I'm afraid we have to special order those sort of things in, but I am happy to do it.
Only color I'm missing right now is OD green. So I'll probably be ordering some OD green off of you for Christmas.
I do like some OD green. It's a classic color.
It is. It really is.
It goes with a lot. If you have feedback about the show, you should email us feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com. Tell us how you really feel. Let us know what you people think. I also have to apologize to Rod Giltech. I'm sorry we couldn't get Ron on the show. I was expecting Ian. The rule is one Westerner at a time. Due to a scheduling conflict, we have no Westerners at this time. If you're a Westerner and you'd like to take Rod's spot on the show, you should email us feedback@canadianpatriotpodcast.com. The panel is open to well, anyone really. We've had Matt from America on, so I mean, I don't discriminate. Come on, bring a topic. Come on once. Come on, be a regular. I don't care. It's a sort of open invite. Anybody can come on as long as you can have a reasonably civil discourse. You're welcome back.
Mhm.
For all of our patriots out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.